Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio podcast, where it's all about helping you complete your financial journey to retirement, discover time-tested strategies, and get unconventional insight into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Break away from the herd and go for the retirement you dream of. And now, here's your host, the Income Engineer.
That's me, the Income Engineer. Welcome back to Personal Pension Radio. So glad you could join me again. Thank you again. This is the week after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody is just well fed and happy, had a good time with family. Really appreciate, as always, you being here. If you haven't been to personalpensionradio.com, check that out. A very simple website at this point with the back episodes and show notes. Remember, if you haven't found the show notes there that you're looking for or information that you're looking for, please contact me through Personal Pension Radio, and I'll definitely get you the information you need. We take a lot of time to go through and create transcripts and put those show notes in for you, and they do go through a review process, and so sometimes it takes a little longer to get those show notes added into each episode on the website. Those of you who are new, what is Personal Pension Radio all about? Well, I, the Income Engineer, you might have guessed, I'm all about optimizing retirement income. And retirement income does not happen with a product, okay? Optimizing, let me be specific, maximizing retirement income does not happen with a product. What I mean by that is that mutual funds, 401ks, life insurance, real estate, annuities, stocks, bonds, none of these things by themselves will help you optimize your retirement income. And optimize, maximize, make it as big as possible. Those things only happen if you have an integrated approach. If you have an integrated approach that you balance all of these things together. If you have a plan to take maximum income from your real estate portfolio, if you have a plan to take maximum income from your mutual funds or your 401k, your life insurance, your annuities, they all work together, and they shouldn't be looked at as a singular piece. They should be looked at as part of the whole, really. Okay? Now, this show absolutely meant to give you hope for retirement. I can't tell you how many times I have talked to people who have basically resigned themselves to this idea that the retirement dream of retiring at a certain day and retiring with a certain lifestyle has just gone, where they are just disheartened, they're just depressed, whatever you want to call it. And I am here to tell you that there is hope, there is light at the end of that retirement tunnel, but you have to be willing to learn something new. You have to be willing to stop following this conventional Wall Street wisdom. And I say wisdom with a smile because it's only half true. That's how I say it to people. People ask me, why haven't I ever heard of phrases like sequence risk? These are phrases that you'll hear me talk about on this show. Why haven't I ever heard of sequence risk or reverse dollar cost averaging? Why have I never heard of the 4% rule or Monte Carlo simulations? Pay attention if you're new to the show. If you've never heard those things from your financial advisor, yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. The standard Wall Street education, that conventional wisdom, these are not things that come up in the conversation because let me explain. I was educated by that Wall Street financial advisory machine, and I was never taught to pay attention to those kinds of terms. I was taught, as I would suspect most financial advisors are taught still today, that the answer to virtually everything, literally like, I want to save for my kids' college. Well, you need to invest more money. I want to save for retirement. You need to invest more money. You need to invest more money. I've got a flat tire. You need to invest more money. Right? Every single thing was save and invest more money, invest. No one ever talked about how do we take maximum retirement income someday from these accounts? How do we take maximum retirement income? And that's a whole different set of economic rules. And it was not part of my standard education, was not part of my education as a financial advisor. And that's what I have found today when people ask me the question, well, why haven't I ever heard of the Monte Carlo simulation or the 4% rule or retirement income? Why haven't I ever heard any of these things that you're talking about? Well, my answer has been this. I ask this question: does Wall Street have any financial incentive to teach you how to take your money out of their system? Of course not. I mean, it's just not, it's not an insidious thing. It's not evil or anything. I mean, it's just there's no financial incentive to spend a lot of money teaching people how to take their money out of that system. So there just isn't a great deal of information about it. And that's what this show is all about. It's to promote this idea, the conversation around retirement income planning. Now, I am all about investments and real estate and savings and all of those things. I love those parts of the conversation because that goes with my feelings as the income engineer. I love to design that and put it all together. But until you truly understand that most people, most financial advisors are missing the retirement income side of the conversation, until you know what to ask, you may not ever have a real solid retirement income plan that you could be excited about. So keep that in mind. I want to make sure that if you've had that negative conversation, or better yet, if you've never actually talked to your financial advisor and asked them this question, here's your question. What is the plan to avoid the 4% rule? What's the plan to avoid the 4% rule? And for those of you, again, new to the show, don't know what it is, let me give you an example of what the 4% rule is. We'll use $1 million. $1 million because I have to use, easy math because I went to public school here in California is always my joke that I need to use easy math. So let's use $1 million as our number. And you walk into your financial advisor's office and you ask her, what's my plan now that I have $1 million in my 401k or my investments? How much income can I have from my $1 million? Well, the answer is this. This, by the way, is not my answer, but this is the answer from most financial advisors. Well, we don't know exactly how long you're going to live in retirement. You're married, so there's really a higher probability that one of you could live to be, older than the other. And so we got to be really careful and conservative with how much money we take out of your account because we don't know what the ups and downs of the stock market will be. So let's start your retirement income at 4%. And then you might say back, wait a minute, that's only $40,000 per year. And then I got to pay taxes on that $40,000 per year. That doesn't leave a lot left over to enjoy retirement. Well, I know, but, and this is the financial advisor coming back now, well, I know, but we really don't know how long you're going to live, and sequence risk is a serious problem. Whoa. What is sequence risk? This is how the conversation goes. I've met people, this is exactly how the conversation goes. They've never heard these terms before until they walk in and start asking about retirement income. So I'm going to encourage you, please, ask your financial advisor sooner than later. What is the plan to avoid the 4% rule? Because honestly, ask yourself, how did you feel when I just described a simple scenario? You walk into a financial advisor's office with $500,000 in an investment account or $1 million. It doesn't matter. The numbers and the economics are the same. You walk into the financial advisor's office with $1 million and say, hey, how much income can I plan on as I start my retirement here soon? Well, you shouldn't start with more than $40,000 a year. Wait a minute. Congratulations, you're a millionaire. You shouldn't take more than $40,000 per year. And here's a fun fact. If you're a healthy 65-year-old, let's say, a healthy 65-year-old, and you walk into the office and ask about retirement income and they tell you $40,000 a year, I'm here to tell you right now that economically, there is a 12 to 15% chance that if you try and start your retirement income at that level, you try and start your retirement income at 4% at age 65 and you're married, there's a 12 to 15% chance that one of you will die broke. That's a big chance, right? So if 4% leaves open for some significant risk of longevity and maybe running out of money, do you think maybe you might have to consider starting your retirement income at less than 4%? Yeah, that's the worry. So if you don't have a plan to avoid it, you're on your way to walking right into a 4% conversation with your financial advisor. So that's I'm beating this as much as I can today, just because I've heard it once again in the week prior to this recording. I've heard it yet again that someone did not know what the 4% rule is. They'd never talked to their financial advisor about retirement income, and then whammo, they get hit with all this stuff they've never heard before, and their retirement dreams are starting to dim, the light starting to go out at the end of that tunnel. I'm here to tell you there is a solution, and if you want some help, if you want help understanding a good comparison from someone who specializes in retirement income, contact me through Personal Pension Radio. Go there to personalpensionradio.com. Just send me a note. I've had a number of people contact me recently. Really appreciate that trust, and I'm in the process of helping them now. So do that and know there is an alternative, okay? Now, full disclosure, I always like to make sure that I throw in a disclosure here to make sure that people understand. I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. I am a certified financial planner professional, and that doesn't mean, even though I'm highly qualified, as people would say, I'm very well qualified, and I have I have good letters after my name. That doesn't mean that you should act on things that you hear on this show as if I have given you personal advice. And especially, please, oh my goodness, please do not act on things that you hear from financial entertainers. People who are better than they deserve are not necessarily licensed, regulated financial advisors. Please don't act on things that you hear on radio shows and podcasts and TV from people who have never met you. Please meet with a qualified financial advisor. Have a conversation with a qualified, licensed financial advisor who's going to take the time to really get to know your situation. And I'm happy to be that person. If you ever want to get in touch, go to personalpensionradio.com. I am perfectly accessible that way. I meet with folks all over the country on webinars and phone conferences all the time. Now, on to the first section here. Watch your step. Now, last week, I encourage you to embrace technology and don't miss the opportunities to save money that are all around you. And a big way to do that is online shopping. So I mentioned that last week. Now, this is a fun little tie-in, actually, that I went to Walmart on Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving, as I have done for years now. I can't remember how long it has been. In my early life, long ago, I was on the management team at Walmart stores. So I used to work at Wally World. And I go to Walmart every year, the day after Thanksgiving, and I generally walk the raceway. That's what the store management calls the main alleyways around a Walmart store, and even a Target store or Kmart store, they call it the raceway. I walk the raceway at my local Walmart store, and I generally leave without buying anything. It's really a trip to remember that Walmart taught me a great deal, taught me a tremendous business management experience and hard work and some great lessons in my life. But I walk the raceway at Walmart on the day after Thanksgiving so that I can remember and appreciate the fact that I don't work at Walmart anymore and that I did not open that store at midnight on Thanksgiving, for example, or the day after Thanksgiving. But what I noticed when I was walking the raceway at Walmart at 6 a.m. was that there were no huge crowds. I mean, the store was not crazy busy as I had seen it in the years past. And that went right back to reports after report after report over the weekend that online shopping has gone up some 30%. I mean, an enormous increase year over year that people are shopping online. And that's what ultimately was happening at my local Walmart, apparently, is that most people, or many people who used to be at Walmart at 4 a.m. in line, oh my goodness, I can remember, this is many years ago, at Walmart, we would have a line around the building at 4 a.m. They would be set up with chairs and blankets, and they'd be waiting to get in to get that killer deal on a TV or a microwave or a toaster oven or whatever. Today, what was that? Today, the online shopping has changed all of that. So very interesting. So please, that note that I made last week about embracing technology and don't miss the deals and the opportunities around you, definitely don't. They're all over the place. So if you're just walking in and paying full retail, I don't care if you've got the money in the bank to do it. Why are you doing it? That's just irresponsible. If you're not taking the time, just a quick second, to check your iPhone or to take a quick look and find out, oh my gosh, it's 20% cheaper over there, well, get the deal. Don't miss that opportunity. Okay, now, watch your step is a section where I like just to go through and just check the news and see what's out there. Okay, just like to see what's out there and see what kind of headlines that you're seeing, because you've heard me mention it before. There is so much information on the internet, on the news, everywhere, that these websites like U.S. News and Bloomberg and the Huffington Post, I mean, they are 24/7 news and information sites, and they are constantly in need of more material. Unfortunately, what has happened now is that instead of actually good quality material being the norm, what you're seeing is really just fluff pieces and just stuff that makes me scratch my head like, I cannot believe the stuff that is published nowadays. So before you look at something in a U.S. News or Bloomberg or Forbes or Money Magazine or any of that kind of stuff, before you look at it and think to yourself, well, this looks like good information, remember that it was probably thrown together by, in many cases, by someone who is not a licensed or qualified financial planner, not someone who is actually qualified to be giving advice of any kind related to money, and yet it's been thrown together by a contributing author, and then they just publish it out there. They just publish it and publish it and publish it, and so much of the time it's just junk. At least that's my opinion. I just look at it, it's crazy. So I like to scour the news that's in front of me, and things that catch my eye end up in the Watch Your Step segment. Now, this one was actually in Money, U.S. News, World Report, on their online section, in their money and retirement section. And it caught my eye, and it said 6 end-of-year retirement planning tips that will save you money. Oh, they're going to save you money. That caught my eye because I'm all about efficiencies, right? So I'm about finding the inefficiencies and eliminating them. Saving that money is always important, right? So I go to that article. So here's the very first thing. 6 tips. Number 1, make your 401k contributions. Well, okay, so that does save money. So you're saving money. That's good. Okay. Then remember your catch-up contributions. Well, catch-up contributions is part of your 401k. So it's nothing different. It could have said make your 401k contributions and don't forget your catch-up contributions, but we made it an extra one instead. So remember your catch-up contributions. Now, let me make a point here. This is what my first thought was, right? So retirement planning tips that will save you money. Okay, I thought, well, save me money. Is it going to be something that will help me cut my budget or my expenses, or am I going to find a tax, credit or something? Well, the first two things were basically just encouraging you to save money. So retirement planning tips that will save you money if you save money. That makes no sense, right? I mean, of course, putting money in my 401k will result in retirement savings. It's just, anyway, sorry, I'm being too critical, right? The third item on this list is Saver's Credit, right? So go after the Saver's Credit. So that if you earn less than $30,750 for a single person and $61,500 for a married couple, you might be eligible for up to a $2,000 tax credit. Now we're talking. A tax credit is literally money that you basically get from the government coffers for having saved money in your retirement account. So if you saved some money in your 401k, for example, and you earn less than $30,000, you might be eligible to get free money from the government. Unfortunately, it's not really free because any money that comes from the government was already taken from someone else, right? I mean, so it wasn't really free. It was taken from somebody else. But if you're in a situation where you earn less than $61,500 as a married couple, did you know that if you save for retirement in a company savings plan, you could be eligible for another tax credit, actual dollar-for-dollar income tax reduction? That's a big deal. So out of this list of end-of-year retirement tips that can save you money, that's the only one so far that's legitimately a real tax savings, because the first two, 401k contributions and your catch-up contribution, basically the same things in 401k, those are not really tax savings. Remember, those are tax deferrals, tax postponements. All right? So on to the fourth item, because the third item, tax credit, that's a legitimate savings, right? It's one that I had forgotten about. Now, remember RMDs, required minimum distributions, so that if you're over age 70 and a half and you have an individual retirement account, an old 401k, remember that you have to take a certain amount of money, a required minimum distribution, out of those retirement accounts every single year. And this is a legitimate savings. If you forget it, the penalty is a 50% penalty. So remembering your required minimum distribution is in fact a savings. It'll save you from getting dinged with a significant penalty. So don't forget. Now, the next one, donate your required minimum distribution to charity. Now, that is actually a pretty interesting idea. If you do not need your required minimum distribution income from your IRA, meaning that you have sufficient income from other sources, well, you have to take that required minimum distribution, but you could also, if you wanted to, you could donate it to charity and get a charitable deduction, so that would offset the taxes on that required minimum distribution. So I guess that does save you some money, but it saves you money. Here's the part that bothered me about it. It's saving you money, but what you have to do is give it away in order to save it. That doesn't make any sense. Again, these are the kind of things that I see. I'm out there preparing for the show for you. This kind of stuff just makes me scratch my head, bang my knuckles on my head, like, okay, so donate my required minimum distribution to charity. How does that save me money? Well, it doesn't. I just gave away the required minimum distribution, so I don't have the money anyway after I'm done. Now, another note, you have extra time. They say this is like the fifth one, or the sixth one. You have extra time to contribute to your IRA. Now, once again, contributing to an IRA or 401k does not save you money, doesn't save you anything extra, because you're going to get taxed on it someday, right? But retirement planning tips that will save you money if you save money is what the article should have said, because 3 or 4 of these things required you to actually go save extra money anyway, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, you do have extra time that when you look at contributions to a 401k have to be made by the end of the year. Contributions to an IRA, an individual retirement account, can be made by your tax filing in 2017. So there's some different regulations there that allow you to still make contributions to your IRAs later, right? Now, I had to add a few of my own, okay? So I had to add a few of my own here, because if you get your finances in order before the end of the year, you might be able to catch some real savings, some actual savings, right? And what I mean by that is go through if you use it, I've recommended it before on this show. People have asked me, how do I track my finances? How does the income engineer track his finances? Well, I use a program called Quicken. Quicken it's not the QuickBooks or it's not Microsoft Money. It's called Quicken. I track all of my expenses, all of my cash flows, all of that stuff. I like to keep an eye on it. That is my budget, if you will, because I put my eyeballs on basically everything that goes through my wife and I's cash flow, right? But if you take the time now, at this time of year, coming into December, at the end of the year, to get your finances in order, maybe you will catch some real savings. Things like a home office deduction, right? So if you are a salesperson or self-employed or you work remotely, do you have all of your receipts and do you have your home office deduction done correctly so that you can get a home office deduction if that's something that you can still take advantage of? Medical expenses. Have you had medical expenses throughout the year that you need to make sure that you have all your receipts for? It's possible that depending on your income, you might be able to deduct some of your medical expenses. That's legitimate savings. What if you have mileage for work? Oh, this is a big one, that if you have not kept a good mileage record, that makes it difficult for you to be able to recreate that for your taxes next year, to be able to take the mileage deduction, which is a pretty hefty percentage now. It's 50 cents a mile or something. I forget what it is. But I keep a pretty good record of the miles I drive for work. Do you? Have you gone in and recreated that? Do you know the rules in your state for mileage deductions, for example? Okay. Make sure that you're checking that. Do you have a uniform that you are required to wear at work? Are you self-employed or are you in sales and you pay for your own clothing and your own own outfits and things like that you need to wear? Sometimes those clothes and the things that you do to prepare yourself for work can be tax deductible. Meals, business meals, things that you have that are in the course of your job that are not covered by your employer, but you are required to travel, for example. Have you tracked your business meals? These are all places that have legitimate savings on your taxes. Don't miss it, right? Business expenses like travel and supplies. Those are the kind of things that get your finances in order so that you can be ready, so that you don't miss legitimate tax savings at the end of the year. Now, I mentioned it last week as well, and I'm going to tie it into this one. Be mindful of lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation, when we talk about saving money, if you pay off a car that was costing you $400 a month, I urge you, don't fall victim to lifestyle inflation. Get that $400, and instead of directing it towards a car payment, direct it towards legitimate retirement savings. Legitimate savings. Just make that $400 disappear somewhere else so that now you're saving it instead of putting it into the car. Okay? So just a thought. Avoid that lifestyle inflation. I'm going to keep harping on that because a lot of folks just forget. And that $400 just starts going back into lifestyle, and now lifestyle got expensive, and we didn't save any extra money. All right? Now, this article that I actually saw The next one that actually popped up here was the title said, "Will we ever be able to retire? Boomers and Gen Xers are worried." So there's a report actually, and by the way, all of this will be in the show notes. There was actually a study, this was actually published in the Washington Post, but it was a study by the Addison Group. And again, all this will be in the show notes, but it was an eye-opener. It was a headline that caught my eye or my attention. And again, will we ever be able to retire? Boomers and Gen Xers are worried. And the reason I share this is it goes back to me wanting to turn the light on at the end of that retirement tunnel. That if you find yourself to be one of these in one of these groups that I mentioned from this survey, please know that there is hope. You have to be willing to pick up the phone or go to your email right now to Personal Pension Radio and contact me and ask for help, okay? Because there is a solution. Almost every time I've had the opportunity to talk to someone who's losing hope for their opportunity to retire, I've been able to help them with a solution that changes things in a positive way. So here's what the Addison Group survey found out, with these worried boomers and Gen Xers. And this kind of scary thought is that 51% surveyed said they were worried about retirement. I mean, wow, 51%. That is significant. 55% of boomers and 58% of Gen Xers are not confident they can retire when they want. Now, here's one that caught my eye, and I thought, wow, these guys are crazy. This is what I thought. 61% of millennials are confident they can retire when they want. Now, millennials are younger than millennials. I want to say this. This is why the word that I wrote down was delusional. Now, if 61% of these younger millennials are confident that they can retire, I would like to know where that confidence comes from. That's the thing. The survey doesn't go any further and the article doesn't go any further. This is a question that I would ask. I would say, well, where in the world are you getting the confidence to say that you're going to be able to retire when you want? With the economic situation that we have, how in the world is that going to happen for the millennial generation and the next generation, right? If 51% or 55% of boomers and 58% of Gen Xers are not confident that they will retire when they want, how in the world are the millennials confident that they will retire when they want to? So the idea that millennials are under the impression that they're going to be able to retire, I think goes back to that something that I've said before, and it's clear to me personally that they're just not aware of the economics that they face. They're not aware of the economic reality that lies before them. And I hope that shows like mine, and I hope that people like you listening right now that have friends who are millennials and younger, that you are sharing this conversation, being open with this conversation, because they're just clearly not aware of what they're up against. And it's going to be a tremendous, tremendous rude awakening when they get there. Okay? So please share these kind of conversations, be bold with it, and just don't forget. Okay? Really, really appreciate it if you would just be out there. Now, a quick story before I go. Recently, I had encouraged everybody to take action, right? Take action at this holiday season. Now's the time to get out there and have some conversations about estate planning and financial conversations. Be bold. Talk about money. Talk about, maybe things that are generally taboo or uncomfortable. Because if you don't, you just don't know. You just don't know whether or not they're taken care of. So I had mentioned in a previous episode here recently, talk to family members about making sure that you have your will, your trust, your powers of attorney. Make sure that you have those basic legal things that tell your family what you want to happen, what if something happens to you, right? What's going to happen? And I took my own advice over this Thanksgiving weekend, went to visit with my mom and took my own advice. And I asked her about her legal documents, about her powers of attorney and so on and so forth. Well, go figure. She had already had her powers of attorney updated, had her legal documents updated, and she even had copies ready for me when I was coming to visit her. It was just, and unfortunately, she doesn't listen to podcasts, so I know she wasn't listening to the show that I had actually mentioned that on. But she must have been, she and I were mentally connected maybe in some way, or she's the reason that I'm so smart in telling you to get your own legal documents and things like that done. So go figure. Mom had already taken care of it, and she handed me an envelope that had her updated powers of attorney, healthcare directives, etc., all in there so that there was no question about what she wants to happen. And here are the legal documents to make sure that that's exactly what happens if she's unable to make those decisions herself. Okay? And I don't know how to motivate people sometimes except for giving you that shocking example or a visual so that you can understand how important this is. So I share this at this holiday time, this Christmas time coming up. Please think about this. Share this with your family. What if you or a family member was severely injured? What if you got the phone call, okay? Like, I actually have an experience recently where someone shared this story with me that just totally hit me right in the heart. He got a call, this guy that we're talking with, got a call from the university where his daughter was studying nursing. His daughter's in college as a nursing student. He got the call. There were no details except that his daughter was taken to the hospital in serious condition. That's it. Now, he's out of state. His daughter's in another state, driving distance, but still a long ways away. On the way to the hospital from California to Arizona, calling the hospital while en route. And the hospital would not give him any information, none, because his daughter was an adult, over 19 years old, and he did not have a power of attorney on file with the hospital. He did not have any information that showed that he had any legal rights to information on his daughter's behalf, and they would not give him any information. The Health Insurance Privacy and Portability Act, the HIPAA regulations for privacy, the hospital just said no. So he got to enjoy hours and hours of driving, not knowing, because all of his daughter's friends were at the hospital basically, and they weren't getting a cell signal at the hospital, which is often the case. So he had no information nobody he could talk to, right? So he and his wife are driving to get to the hospital and don't know what happened to their daughter because they didn't have a power of attorney, a simple power of attorney. Now, ultimately, everything turned out fine. They got there, it was a car accident, ruptured spleen, punctured lung, surgery, and everything's fixed, presto, everything's okay. Daughter's fine. But can you believe that? Like, this is mom and dad can get no information about daughter. Nothing. Because they didn't have the legal paperwork that gave them permission to actually get the information. So, I have to admit to you right now, when I heard that, I realized I don't have that either. I don't have that simple power of attorney for my daughter. And I'll tell you what's on my computer screen already, that I've contacted an attorney, got the information that I needed, and I have the power of attorney documents on my computer ready to send to her for signature. I will not be in that situation. My wife and I have these documents for sure, definitely. We're going to have our legal documents, trusts and wills and everything updated here soon. But my daughter doesn't have the same powers of attorney, and now she's officially an adult. We've got to get that done. So this holiday season, this Christmas, this Hanukkah, this everything that whatever you might be celebrating this year, now is the time with family to have these kind of serious discussions. These are things that you really should just bring it up. Ask mom and dad, hey, where's your power of attorney? Where's your will? Where's your trust? Right? Get it done. Because nobody wants to be in this situation driving, 4 hours to find out that daughter's okay, but can you imagine that, hours in the car not knowing? Oh, that just caught me. Like, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to rectify that right away. I mean, this week, we're done. I'm going to fill it out, get the paperwork, get it ready to go, send it off. It'll be notarized. It'll all be good. So I'm going to wrap up there. Now, next week, on next week's episode, we got a great question I'm going to cover next week that someone asked me about legacy planning, that they want to leave their children more wealth, more money than their parents left them. They want to leave more wealth than has ever been left before in their family, and what's the best way to do that? So I'm going to cover that next week, next week's episode. So watch for that. That's actually going to be episode 100 of the Personal Pension Radio podcast. Thank you again so much for being here. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you again. I'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio podcast. We took notes for you, so if you missed any part of the show, you can find a full transcript of each episode at personalpensionradio.com. Be sure to download your free retirement income crisis report at personalpensionradio.com. While you're at it, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening. Now for the disclosure. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended for solicitation, sale or purchase of any security or financial product. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and your tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. The term personal pension refers to a marketing name designed to educate future retirees and retirees about the economic principles behind creating their own pension-like income. The term personal pension is not intended to be confused with a defined benefit pension plan offered by an employer or by a government entity.